Andrew McCART, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted once again, finally, to be joined by Mr. Adam Smith. Adam, it's been a while since I've spoke to you. Normally speak to Umar or Coogan, so how's things?
Yeah, I do actually. I spoke to Umar the other day. Very well, thanks. Really pleased to be back in the northeast. Huge week, of course, for the city of Newcastle with what's happening with the football at St James's Park, where we were for the press conference yesterday, and a big fight night on Saturday. I've always said it's the sleeping giant up here, and you know they've got a huge fervent support. Football and boxing mesh, don't they, so beautifully? And off the back of actually the Brentford-Chelsea game on Saturday, we go straight to Hughie Fury and kick off the boxing, and then it's Newcastle Spurs Sunday. So it's a big weekend for the northeast, and we're all around it. You mentioned the sleeping giant in the northeast. I mean, just by this weigh-in, the fans always turn out. It doesn't matter if it's just a weigh-in. I've been in the weigh-ins in the US, and sometimes maybe 5-6 fans are there, but the Geordies, they know how to show out, don't they? So Saturday night, we're in for a good one, because you mentioned Chris Eubank Jr., Hughie Fury, Savannah Marshall. I mean, some stars there right now, so it's going to be a good night on Saturday. It should be a fantastic night. I think it's going to be rocking Saturday night. I think with the feel as well. It's Freshers Week, and didn't one of them get Chris Eubank to sign a microwave yesterday? So it's all happening out there. It's fun in the city. It's a feel-good time for them, and you know, they've got the likes of Steve Robinson and April Hunter. You know, plenty of local talent on as well. Georgia O'Connor kicking off her pro career. I think she's going to be really good. So looking forward to seeing all the young talent that the northeast has, as well as you know some of the bigger names. Chris Eubank, who didn't get to fight a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic that he's got a chance to get his career rolling again after what's been such a difficult time for the Eubank family. And you know, Savannah Marshall headlining. Savannah, former scholar of ours at Sky. We've gone back a long way through a lot of ups and downs. It's wonderful to see her settle with Peter Fury, firing on all cylinders and defending her title against an unbeaten Zambian in Lolita Mazea, who's come full of confidence and ambition. So really excited about that. And of course, Savannah's stablemate Hughie Fury back in a big fight for him against Christian Hammer, who's always given the big boys plenty to think about. So I think there's some really good matches. One of the sleepers might be the Brad Rare Jez Smith fight. I think that's a cracker. So yeah, I think it's got something for everybody. Big showcase for Newcastle tomorrow night, and I hope everybody tunes in.
I want to talk about the heavyweights, because the heavyweight division right now is booming. It's back. This is supposed to be the Joshua Usyk fight, Tyson Fury Wilder fight. You've got two heavyweights on the card here, and Steve Robinson, who is going off that Ivan Drago sort of thing, man. He looks like Ivan Drago. He's playing on the USSR thing. I mean, he can be one for the future.
Yeah, I like him. He's a real character. We spent some time actually at St James's Park yesterday together, and he's a big unit. He's a lovely fella, and yeah, there's a lot to him in terms of character. He can fight as well, so he hasn't really had the opportunities. It's tough sometimes for the heavyweights, you know, and I think what we're trying to do with our new partnership with Boxer and with Top Rank, of course, Top Rank bring the global stars, but with Boxer we're trying to build a platform for maybe some unheralded fighters to come in, and maybe ones that haven't had that sort of, I don't know, the Team GB sort of love, or you know, maybe a sort of an easier way through the amateurs, and you know, give them an opportunity, as well as you know some of the ones that are highly touted. So there's a real chance. Georgia O'Connor was a great amateur herself, didn't quite work out, a bit like Ebony Jones, and you know, at Team GB at the very highest level, but they go pro. Ebony was fantastic a couple of weeks ago. Real exciting style for the pro ranks, and I think Georgia's different, and she's a different character, and we look forward to working with them and building them into stars hopefully in the future. We can't do the fighting for them, they've got to go and do that, but we believe in their abilities, and we'll do everything we can behind the scenes to give them the platform and keep them relevant, and make sure that you know everybody's tuning in, and obviously Sky Sports News and all our platforms can help with that.
Next Fury up then, Hughie Fury's up next this week. I mean, you talked about the platform and build them up. Hughie's talked about, so has Peter Fury, about getting that world title shot. I mean, right now it's going to be difficult because of Tyson holding the belt and the rematch with thing, but what does Sky and Boxer, what do you need to do to get Hughie into that position? Do you need to find a top 5 opponent, maybe, I mean, a Ruiz maybe, or somebody like that over in America to break? I mean, he's fought Parker, he's fought Pulev and stuff like that, but does he need another big name and a win against a big name to propel himself into that world title shot?
He's an interesting story, isn't he, Hughie Fury? He's a bit of an enigma. You don't quite know how good he is yet. I think he's got the talent, the ability. I think he's got plenty of heart and guts to have gone in with some of those big names very, very early on in his career. Really, really young, you know, when he fought the likes of Parker and Povetkin and Pulev. And I think probably too much too soon, but he held his own. So there's the good signs. I think sometimes he's flattered to deceive, hasn't given us those big knockout performances that we tend to expect from the sort of higher echelons in the heavyweight division, the likes of obviously his cousin Tyson, who stands as the #1 heavyweight in the world. What a wonderful win for him last weekend. And Anthony Joshua, who obviously has knocked out pretty much everybody. So, you know, you look at those, Dillian Whyte as well, very exciting, plenty of power. And you think, well, where's Hughie Fury in all of this? Well, I think Hughie is still a work in progress. He's only 27. I think
people forget that.
I think they forget that. I think he's got his man strength now. I think what he needs is momentum. I think he needs to be fighting regularly. They didn't want an easy fight to kick us off with this new era on Sky. You know, they've gone for Christian Hammer, who's tough. You know, we all remember him beating David Price and fighting Tyson and you know, causing the sort of, certainly the European level heavyweights, you know, plenty of problems. So Christian has come in. I'm sure he'll put another really big shift in. He believes he can upset Hughie Fury. It's exactly the sort of fight we want at Sky, really competitive fight. And we're looking for Hughie to get some rounds in, make a bit of a statement, I think, tomorrow night, and then then where do we take him? I mean, it's wide open, the heavyweight division, underneath, of course, the sort of Usyk, Fury and Joshua level, and Dillian, you sort of add to that part as well, and we hope he gets his opportunity. But underneath that, you've got the likes of your Joe Joyces, your Daniel Dubois coming back, Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz, many fighters out there. So there's plenty out, you know, obviously Chisora and Parker as well. There's plenty out there that I think Hughie can tackle. So let's see where we go. Let's one step at a time. I think he needs to get the rounds in, needs to get some momentum, and needs to impress us as well on Saturday night.
I do want to talk about Savannah Marshall, being that she's boxed on Sky a few times. She was a scholar, like you said. Now, can we get that Clarissa Shields fight? Can Sky Sports and boxing, can you make that for Savannah? I mean, it's probably been the most talked about fight in the female division, apart from Katie Taylor and Serrano and stuff like that. But we need to see that fight, don't we, against these two? It's unfinished business, some say, for Clarissa, because she's got that only loss against her. So, Adam, over to you.
Okay, well, I'll start with saying that I've only really met Ben Shalom this year, okay, and we've been working extraordinarily closely for the last 4 or 5 months, literally, you know, day in, day out. And very early on, we talked about a couple of things. One was the Northeast and how we wanted to make this one of our hotbeds. Liverpool is another one, and obviously, you know, we've had show in London and got another one coming up. Scotland with Josh Taylor, but we want to sort of pick areas. We talked about the Northeast, and the first person I talked about with Ben was Savannah Marshall. Now, of course, I've got a long history with Savannah, known her since 2012 when she went to the Olympics and froze, and over the next 4 years of sort of mentoring her, we had to bring her back from a very difficult situation. But before that, she beat Clarissa Shields, and she remains the only person to have beaten Clarissa Shields. She's found herself now. She's got Peter Fury. She's got a great momentum. She's got her confidence back, and I believe she's an absolute superstar to be made still. I think she's a star. I think people know how good she is. But I think now she's got the platform, the regular platform, and she's going to have the attention on her. I think she can become absolutely, you know, phenomenal. But she needs that Clarissa Shields fight. So she has business to deal with tomorrow night. She takes care of that. We're looking to get Clarissa over here. We want her to fight in front of the British public, and we want to make that fight for as soon as possible in 2022. It's a massive fight. It's the biggest women's fight in the world. We want to make sure that it has the attention that it deserves. Because, you know, female boxing has been phenomenal over the last 5 or 6 years. When Eddie took the call from Katie Taylor, you know, the rest is history. You know, she's been an icon. We've had Terry Harper, Chantel Cameron, so many come through. And we've got a huge female stable now. Caroline Dubois to turn professional. You know, we've seen Ebony, and now Georgia tomorrow, April Hunter, as we know, and Savannah. You know, she is a phenomenal fighter, and I really hope that if she keeps winning, she gets her due credit. And I think that, you know, she's such a great woman. She's such a lovely person. And I really believe that she can beat Clarissa Shields and cement her place in boxing forever. I think she's that good. I think it's all a mental thing with Savannah. It's about her confidence. We struggled with it before, but I believe now she's in the right place, and with Peter Fury with the right person.
I'll take you back to last weekend then, Adam, please. What a heavyweight fight. One of the best fights, not just heavyweight fight, but one of the best fights I've witnessed live. I mean, when heavyweights go down, sometimes they stay down, but for them to be 5 knockdowns in that fight, did you stay up for the fight? Did you wake up in the morning to watch it? What did you do, and did you enjoy it?
Of course I stayed up for it. I wanted to be there, to be ringside. You know, I was going to go over Dazn Ppv, obviously our new partner. I wanted to be in Vegas, but obviously there's a huge amount going on here at the moment. So, no, I watched the Liverpool show on Dazn earlier and enjoyed seeing that. Liam Smith and Anthony Fowler in a great fight with Troy Williamson and Ted Cheeseman. And then, yeah, of course, I watched the fight live, and I was messaging all the Sky team. Of course, we were, you know, we're sort of devastated. We're not there. It's on BT. It's their baby. You know, Tyson's their guy, and we watched as fans. Really, it was a phenomenal fight. It was an incredible watch. One of the great heavyweight fights, as you say. You know, I've been lucky enough to be at some of the Bo Holyfield fights, some of the Lewis Holyfield fights, obviously some of Tyson's fights, and AJ Klitschko was an incredible night at Wembley for so many reasons, but that's right up there. It was an unbelievable watch. I was there for the Fury Wilder second fight, where I thought Fury was just phenomenal and a wonderful performance, and you know, he had to deal with a couple of knockdowns and the adversity which added to it. Deontay Wilder's so brave throughout to hang in there with Fury, but Fury was brilliant. He found a way, he navigated the fight perfectly, and as I said earlier, he's the premier heavyweight on the planet. Alexander Usyk might argue. It's a brilliant performance from him 3 weeks ago at Spurs. Of course, Anthony Joshua still very much in the mix. He's going to have the rematch with Alexander Usyk, but you've got to take your hat off to the Gypsy King. He's been incredible for boxing, and he stands undefeated as the main man in the heavyweights at the moment. As I said, I still want to see Anthony Joshua come back. I think, look, he's going to have that rematch with Usyk. If he wins that and becomes a 3-time heavyweight champion, AJ's resume is fantastic. He's been the poster boy. He's done so much for boxing. We still want to see that fight with Tyson Fury. But I'm hoping that Dillian Whyte gets the next crack. I think if he gets past Otto Wallin, he deserves it. He's been waiting a long time. I'd like to see Tyson and Dillian fight. It's a big fight for British boxing, big fight globally. Then you get the AJ Usyk rematch. And then let's hope that we do get Fury and Joshua in a ring. And you know, people have asked me all week whether Tyson Fury is the greatest, you know, heavyweight Britain's ever produced, and you know, Lennox Lewis for me has always been. Obviously, Frank Bruno was hugely popular. David Haye did wonderful, coming up from cruiserweight to heavyweight. AJ's been, as I said, the poster boy, the ambassador, and done so much, sold out the stadiums. So I think boxing wouldn't be where it is today without Anthony Joshua in the last sort of 8-9 years. But I think Tyson Fury is closing in on Lennox Lewis now. You know, Lennox still for me stands as the #1 for everything he did. 3-time heavyweight champion. Those nights with Ruddock, with Holyfield, with Tyson, obviously, and even with Klitschko in that last fight. I thought, you know, Lewis was just a freak of nature, really, an incredible fighter. But Tyson seems to be a freak of nature as well, and a natural-born fighter. And I think if he can clean up and beat the likes of Usyk, which is a great fight, isn't it? And Dillian and Joshua, if he gets through them, Tyson, and he wants to keep going to fight all of those, then you know, he's right up there and sort of parallel, isn't he? So yeah, he's immense respect for Tyson, especially as we were out in Monaco together a few years back, and he was 30 stone plus, and you know, well documented all the troubles and difficulties he had, and how he came back from that. It's an incredible sporting tale and a real inspiration to many other people out there. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Tyson Fury's, and I'm a big fan of boxing, as you know, and I love watching it. And hats off both to Tyson and to Deontay, who I thought was ever so brave and showed that gladiatorial heart. It takes two to make a classic fight, and that's what it was.
Now, for Fury, you mentioned Dillian Whyte and he deserves a shot and stuff like that, but I think when I speak to fans, they want that undisputed fight. They want maybe Joshua fight Wilder, give it to Usyk, but Joshua's activated that rematch clause. But what's your thoughts on the rematch clauses in world title fights? Because it does sort of hold not just the heavyweight division up, but holds divisions up, where getting that undisputed title shot. What's your thoughts on the whole rematch clauses and stuff like that?
Well, you're right about the passion, and I think you've got to be passionate in this business. I absolutely love it, and I love the fighters. I love fighters. They're the best. That's why we do this, because I've got respect for every fighter that gets in the ring, whether they're a 4-rounder, a journeyman, or whether they're Tyson Fury or your Floyd Mayweathers. It doesn't matter. They all deserve enormous credit. We're only here because of them. So I think that's really important to note. As fans, we want everything, don't we? As Sky's head of boxing development, I want all the great fights on Sky. You can't have that. It doesn't work like that. You know, there's a huge amount of competition at the moment, which is really good. BT and Dazn and Channel 5, and obviously Top Rank and BBC, and loads happening in America. You know, we've got 2 great deals with Boxer and with Top Rank, and we've got some really exciting plans. And we're focusing on our business. As a fan, of course, but I love to see Fury and Usyk definitively. But AJ had a rematch clause. He's triggered it, and it didn't work for him at Tottenham, the first fight, and he's got to go back to the drawing board and find a way of beating Alexander Usyk. So, you know, we've been with Anthony Joshua all the way through. It's well documented that that was the last fight on our contract. We're hoping very much to renew another deal and keep with AJ for the rest of his career. We've been fantastic for each other, and you know, we all, yeah, it's been brilliant having him, hasn't it? And we don't want that to stop. So I think that AJ's got to concentrate on the rematch. Alexander Usyk has agreed to that, so therefore they have to fight again. And I think, yeah, as much as we want an undisputed fight, and we were very close with AJ and Fury, very close, but there was a judge and there was a deal that was made. Well, there's a rematch clause, and I know that can annoy people, but ultimately it's fascinating to see whether AJ can do better against Usyk, whether he can regain his titles, like it was with Andy Ruiz. You know, upsets in boxing, although that wasn't a big upset, upsets in boxing happen. You know, stories change. That's why we like the heavyweight world, because you never know what's going to happen. People were saying Wilder's going to knock Fury out in 3 rounds, whatever. He knocked him down twice, but he didn't knock him out. You know, you never know, which is the beauty of it. Personally, I'd like to see Tyson take a rest and be with his family. His young daughter was very ill, and he had a very difficult, you know, build-up. So I'd like to see him take some time in Morecambe and some holiday time. I'd like to see Anthony do the same thing, have a little rest. You know, these are hard fights and hard training camps. And then, you know, when we're ready to go again, Dillian's got his fight coming up. Obviously, we've got, you know, the weight for AJ Usyk. We've got the weight for what happens with the undisputed title, but in the meantime, let's enjoy what we have got, and let's see what happens in that rematch. Let's see what happens with Dillian and whether he can get the fight with Fury. So I think that'll be a huge fight. I mean, Tyson's talking about fighting at Old Trafford, which I think will be brilliant. You know, we had a wonderful...
You're a Liverpool fan, would you go?
I'll go anywhere. I went to Everton. You know, Tony Bellew would rub that into me. You know, I had to walk onto Goodison, you know, loads of times, but look, I'm a big Liverpool fan, and it's no secret I'd love to see boxing at Anfield. And I thought we were close at one point, but listen, let's see where we go with the Smith brothers, and there'll be others, and the world turns very quickly. So I'd love to do boxing at Anfield. I've got to say, the boxing at Tottenham the other week was unbelievable. I knew when I went there 18 months before that it was going to be the stadium for boxing. We've had some phenomenal nights at Wembley and at Cardiff, even at Manchester City, loads of different venues, but Tottenham was special. The atmosphere was off the charts. Matt said, I think it was one of the best atmospheres he'd ever experienced, ever, in any fight around the world. I agree. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the whole stadium was made for boxing. So look, really happy with what happened at Tottenham, but I think Tyson Fury really wants to fight at Old Trafford. So why not? You know, Tyson against Dillian Whyte at Old Trafford would be a huge fight for British fight fans. I'd like to see, if and when it happens, the Fury-Joshua fight, at least one, if not both of them here. You know, for British fight fans, that would be great, because for so long Tyson's had to fight abroad. You know, we know Anthony went to America, to Saudi, but look what happened at Spurs with the fans back, 67,000. It was just absolutely brilliant. Ignore him, absolutely brilliant. And I think I'm still reeling with him about calling it. I mean, I don't get it.
Johnny,
do you still think he's an average southpaw?
Yeah, I do. But yeah.
Alexander Usyk.
Oh, yeah.
I cause trouble in an empty room. It's so easy.
Do you say all this stuff just to get a reaction, or do you honestly believe it?
Not at all. I say this stuff because I know what I'm talking about.
No, he's that. I've known Johnny for 30 years. I adore Johnny Nelson. He's my mate, he's my colleague, and he is so wrong, and so... I can't believe he says things like that. I mean, he said he was 1,000% convinced that AJ would beat Ruiz in the rematch. Okay, I said, you can only have 100%, but okay, if you're that convinced, why are we all turning up, you know? And yeah, okay, Joshua won the fight, but Andy Ruiz was always dangerous. He won the first fight. To call Alexander Usyk an average southpaw is appalling.
I watched the video. You were not happy.
I'm not happy, and I think Usyk is a wonderful fighter. I think he had 350 amateur fights, the undisputed cruiserweight champion. He's just gone and won, you know, 3 of the heavyweight belts in a fantastic performance at Spurs against the bigger man, brilliantly executed, a terrific game plan, using his southpaw skills, his speed, his timing, his mobility, the way he judges distance. He's an outstanding southpaw. So let's just get that right. It's not even an average, a good, a very good, or he's an outstanding southpaw. He's gone, hasn't he? He's gone. He's outstanding, and look, and it's a very subjective business. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. He is so wrong with that.
And I agree. I agree with Adam on this one.
Oh my God, I'll be back.
Adam, I probably won't be doing my job if I didn't ask this question, but you're probably sick of getting the DAZN questions fired at. But what are your thoughts on Eddie's comments about the DAZN model going to pay-per-view and stuff like? You've done the pay-per-view site format and model and Sky a lot of times, but did you see that coming?
I've got a lot of respect for Eddie Hearn and Frank Smith. We worked together for so long. Same with Joe Markowski and the great team at DAZN. They're bright guys. They're off. They're doing their own thing. Eddie went there, and we're going to watch that unfold. And if they feel that that's the right move for them at this time, that's the right move for them. We concentrate on what we do at Sky. It's a Sky business. That's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm responsible for, making sure that the fights that Ben and Todd give us is what we want as much as possible, working together. Sky Sports box office obviously has been a huge platform for us. So a lot of pay-per-view fights over the years, of which, I think nearly all, not all, I think we've made a few mistakes, but nearly all have merited fantastic sort of different level nights for fight fans and different experiences, and that's what it's all about. We've obviously got the ability to really promote and push box office events because of our platform, our arsenal, Sky Sports News, our social and digital streaming and everything. So I think, look, we're well oiled, operationally it's very good, and we know what we're doing with the Sky Sports box office event, and we're going to be very careful to choose the next one. AJ and Usyk obviously was. We haven't got one for the rest of the year. We've got a huge amount of content on Sky Sports. The likes of Crawford and Porter, the likes of Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, they're not pay-per-view events. It's important to make sure that when we go with a box office event, it's absolutely right. So I'm sure they'll be looking at that with DAZN. Whatever they do with their model and going forward is their business and their decision. So let's see what they decide to do. But for us, we're concentrating on what we do, and we've got a great schedule from both sides of the pond. Huge amounts of stuff with Boxer, obviously Saturday night, massive show. We go again with another sort of fight night type show on November the 20th in London. In between, we've got a tournament show, the first tournament show, which we're really excited about in Liverpool. And then we'll have another one in December, and then we've got Josh Taylor. So that's all happening this side of the pond. We've got React on November the 20th, which is fantastic. Florian Marku, Caroline de Bar turning pro. But we've also got a huge amount of top-ranked shows. Emmanuel Navarrete tonight, a double header. We talk about a double sporting attraction in Newcastle this weekend. It's a double header weekend. So we've got the top ranks coming to us, which is fantastic. We've also got Shaka Stevenson, Jamel Herring. We've got Michaela Meyer. We've got, as I say, Crawford Porter and many others. Vasyl Lomachenko to come back, Inoue. So there's a huge amounts happening on Sky Sports. We don't feel it's right to, at the moment, build up another Sky Sports box office event. But when we get a fight that's worthy of that, we'll go with it. And what DAZN do is their business. And as I said, it's interesting watching them. I've worked alongside DAZN for a few years. I've worked with Eddie and Frank for many years. They're great operators. They're great guys. They're doing their business. I'm now working with Ben Shalom, who's young, fresh, innovative, different, entrepreneurial. Yeah, he's brilliant. He takes a step back. He doesn't want to be up there on the stage in between the fighters. He wants to let the fighters, be centre stage, which I think is great. He's got a wonderful team behind him with Boxer, and we've had a bit of a blank canvas. I think we've done really well in the few weeks we've had, bringing the likes of Savannah and Hughie Fury and signing Caroline. Chris Eubank with Wasserman. That was our connection with Wasserman. That they brought Chris, and obviously we've got fantastic plans in the future as well. Richard Riakporhe, Ebony Jones, Georgia O'Connor, many others, and then we'll be signing more up. So I think there's a lot of fighters that want to be on the Sky platform, and it's our job to try and turn them into superstars. So they do the fighting, and we'll try and do our bit to support them as well. So listen, we wish DAZN well, we wish BT well. It's great for fighters and fans, there's competition, but we stick with what we're doing. I've been doing this for a long time at Sky, 27 years, not the 30 years that Sky have been doing boxing, but pretty much all of them. We've had our ups and downs. We've worked with all sorts of different promoters on the way. We've got a new chapter, a new era with Ben and with Todd, and we're very, very excited about it. We have the whole business supporting us. We had the best figures 2 weeks ago at Wembley for 3 years. We hope we're going to get some cracking figures this weekend as well. And we hope that attracts fighters to our platform, and more importantly, customers and fans. And the customers have the boxing as part of the sports output, the Premier League, the cricket, the Formula One, the golf, the darts, which I love. There's loads of other things. Plus, Sky Glass. I mean, look what we're doing with Sky Glass. Sky Broadband, Sky Mobile, Comcast. It's a huge media output, Comcast, and boxing plays its role. But what's brilliant for us is we've got the business backing us. And we believe we've got the platform. And it's a journey. Yep. It will take time. And we'll get things wrong. And we won't get all the fights and all the fighters because there's huge amounts of competition. But all we'll do is we'll try and do our very best for Sky customers. I think we've got a cracking schedule. And let's get it on tomorrow night in Newcastle. That
was going to be my last and final question was going to be your final thoughts on this card, and why should the fans tune on to Sky Sports to watch this card? I mean, Savannah Marshall, Hughie Fury, Chris Eubank Jr., you mean Jez Smith and Rhea, you mean even the big heavyweight Steve Robinson's coming in and stuff like that. I mean, it's April Hunter doing her thing. I mean, the women's boxing has produced some great fights, so why should the fans tune into Sky Sports Boxing?
If you love boxing, if you love sport, if you love an atmosphere, and if you love the Geordies, tune in, because Saturday night is going to be just ram-packed with stuff. It's going to be fantastic from start to finish. There's some real talent. There's youngsters turning pro. There's some more familiar names. Chris Eubank Jr., one of the stars that we believe that will go on and become a world champion on Sky. Savannah Marshall, already a world champion, top of the bill and getting the stage and the platform that she deserves. And Hughie Fury, as we said earlier in the interview, the enigma. You know, everybody's talking about Tyson Fury. Well, there's another Fury. It's Hughie Fury, and he's on straight after the football Saturday night. So enjoy yourself. Watch Brentford-Chelsea. Stay on. It's Hughie. It's Chris. It's Savannah. We've got big Steve Robinson on as well, and everyone loves another heavyweight, and the crowd will be phenomenal. So, look, we're really excited about it, and it's going to be one Saturday night to remember.
Fortunately, I'm going to be at the show, so I might miss the Chelsea game. But Adam, get your old fist bump. Thank you so much for doing this for FL TV, and no doubt I'll catch up with you soon.
Well, I'll be watching Liverpool against Watford earlier in the day, but once that's done, it'll be the boxing.
True Liverpool fan. I love it. I love it. Cheers, Adam.